Mango Math presents 2.5, which is a 5th grade game. 2.5 is a 5th grade game that falls under the math strand of number sense. It's a number sense game that shows patterns in the number of zeros of the product when multiplied or the quotient when dividing a number by powers of 10. 2.5 has some math terms to help increase understanding. So this all deals with place value. So we have currently our decimal place between the 2 and the 5. So the place value goes along with where that decimal is currently at. So you have the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, and then the tenths, the hundredths, the thousands, the 10,000s, and 100,000s. The supplies that are provided in the pouch, along with your information sheet and directions, is 3 game boards, so you can have 3 players. There are counters that you can use as your decimal point, and there's a transparent spinner, and then on the game, on the directions, there is a spinner on that you can use. To start this game, each player will put their decimal point between the 2 and the 5, so they have 2 and 5 tenths. So each player starts at that position. They will each take turns spinning the spinner to see what they're going to multiply that number by. And so that will determine if they're going to move their decimal place to the right or to the left. And the object of the game is to be the first person to move your decimal point completely off the board. So you spin something that causes you to move your decimal point off the board. So the first person will spin, and they're multiplying by 1/1000th. So they'll take 2.5 times 1/1000th, 1/1000th, and they'll move their decimal point accordingly. So that's going to move it to the left, and they now have 25 10,000ths. The next player will go, and they get to spin the spinner, and let's say they're dividing by 1/10. So they're going to move their decimal place 1 point to the right, and now they have 25. So the next person goes, and let's say this person had already gone before, and they're left with 2,500 or 2,500, and they spin their spinner, and they get divided by 1/1000th, and they're going to then move their decimal place off the board accordingly, and they ended up with, I think it's 2 billion or 2,500,000 that they're left with, and they're off the board, so they win that game. So it's basically, we're just trying to get kids to move their decimal and understand what position you're going to move your decimal. Dividing create larger numbers, multiplying creates smaller numbers, and that they get fluidity with understanding what happens with your decimal point when you're multiplying and dividing. Some guided questions to promote critical thinking. What happens to a number when it is multiplied by a decimal? What happens to a number when it's divided by a decimal? Why do you think this happens? Why do they think? Because often they'll think dividing by a number makes it smaller, multiplying a number makes it larger, but in this case it's the reverse. So why is that happening? So enjoy the game.